know that there is a huge opportunity as well as a challenge, right? So I would like to have a discussion to hear more about how you feel we can have solutions. Brief overview of where is the industry at the moment.
We see that the growth in the demand for natural gas has exceeded the growth in the supply of natural gas because of an expanding economy, a rising middle class, and rapid urbanization. But this is not to say that Indonesia is at a shortage of natural gas. When we look at volume, in terms of the supply of natural gas, we have more supply than demand. But Indonesia must be able to improve its infrastructure to supply demand, and we still have committed export demand that we have to fulfill from our previous long-term contracts. Now, the challenge ahead for Indonesia is to be able to use its own natural resources and produce gas at a price that is competitive and viable for everyone.
The basic thing is about supply and demand. At this point, I think we have quite a valid data about the supply from the upstream side. But unfortunately, from the demand side, we don't have any official and valid number yet. Even from power sectors, we see that the growth of the demand, which has forecasted to be around 3 to 4% per annum, realistically, at this point, year on year is only about 0.3 to 0.4%. That means it's only 1/10 of the forecasted demand.
Yeah, from Pertamina perspective, I see that the issue is in the logistic chains first, and then the others is about the unbalanced demand between western part of Indonesia and eastern part of Indonesia. Whereas in the western part of Indonesia, which is 55% demand is in Java, and then in the other side, that's in the eastern part of Indonesia, there's a surplus of the gas supply.
Yeah.
But the problem is the infrastructure and the logistic chain, how to deliver the gas from the eastern part of Indonesia to west of Java. Yeah. That's why the very important things that we need to solve is the infrastructure and the transportation cost. Yeah, and that's why currently Pertamina would like to have to propose the solution like we will build like small scale LNG to deliver the LNG to the scatter, and we will make a clustering system. It means like in the eastern part of Indonesia, we have so many island, and then the demand is there, and then we can make it like a clustering, and then we can supply the LNG by only one vessel, and then this is to reduce the transportation cost. The LNG is like supply driven. If the LNG already there, the market will be they will be use the LNG. But the problem is the issue is about the price. If LNG should compete with the pipeline gas or with the subsidized oil, it's very difficult for LNG to utilize in Java Island.
Indonesia is really at an inflection point as far as gas is concerned in today's market, right? Now, there are a lot of opportunities, and if Indonesia plays well, there's a lot of upside. If we do not capture the opportunities, there's a very high risk that we go down the same path as this country has gone down in the case of liquids, where we become a net importer. The upstream needs to keep up with the production here, right? The demand is increasing, will increase. In fact, there's a lot of latent demand. And as Paras said, I mean, it's a supply-driven market. So even though you don't see a lot of demand yet, as soon as you make the gas available at a competitive price, you could easily see demand go up by 20–30%. So it's important that Indonesia makes sure that it's incentivizing the upstream production. Otherwise, it is going to be quite imbalanced, and it might go down the liquids way.
What's the core issue? I mean, so where are we stuck? Why is this happening? I mean, is gas not being seen as a viable part of the mix?
One is about infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure now only covers about 30% of the required infrastructures nationwide. I agree with you, Pak, that our ultimate goal is to have a nation grid.
Because talking about national grid, our length of the country is, I don't know, it's almost I don't know, the length of this country, it's almost from Spain to Norway. So I think, in that sense, it cannot be done by only one institution. Is it realistic? For me, it is something that can be achievable. That's my answer for that. So if you talk what exactly can be done, it can be done three things. One, look at it geographically. Do not enforce, for instance, in one region in which energy A is cheap, and then you enforce to put energy B.
Be there. Yeah.
Don't do it. And number two, especially infant. That's infant industry. You need protection. Forget about making taxation out of investment.
Natural gas is the cleanest type of fossil fuel. It emits less than 50% of the CO2 emissions of coal. Renewable energy is the future of energy. Right? But we have to take into consideration that renewable energy is an intermittent form of power generation that has a low capacity factor and value and a low energy and power density, unless there is storage. Now, storage is still being studied, and it's still not yet feasible, at least especially in Indonesia. It's still very expensive. And so then renewable energy has to be backed by natural gas, a dispatchable form of power generation that has high energy and power density and a high capacity factor and value.